The Warhammer tanks came back for a 3-week time slot, and with the return of what was previously available, one new tank became available. Another Tier 10 premium heavy tank, the Rogal Dorn. I hope I'm saying that correctly. This being the 100th Tier 10 vehicle in the game to no fanfare besides it being a licensed tank. Missed opportunity there in my eyes, but nonetheless, despite it no longer being available, is it any good? It's a super heavy tank with two gun options, a 150mm main gun with a 90mm secondary gun as its first option, and a double barrel 120mm gun option. The 150mm gun in the first option deals 700 alpha damage with 245 standard AP pen and 945 shell speed, and 332 premium APCR pen with 1015 shell speed. HE bumps up the damage to 890 with 85mm of pen and 820 shell speed. On top of what the 150mm can do, you have a secondary 90mm gun that actually performs very well, with a 4-shot clip of 240 alpha damage rounds, with 182 standard AP pen and 830 shell speed, no premium ammunition, and HE that bumps up the damage to 320 for 102 pen and 773 shell speed. With the main 150mm gun having a reload speed of 19.4 seconds, it gives it a DPM value of 2163. But with the secondary weapon, you can still dish out damage while reloading, with an added 1279 base DPM from that secondary gun, but its reload is a lengthy 36 seconds. As for the rest of the gun stats, the main gun has a 3.1 second aim time, with a 0.36 base accuracy and 7 degrees of gun depression, which is shared with its coaxial secondary weapon. That's the first gun option. The second is that double barrel 120mm option, that basically has two of the Lehman Russ's gun. 500 alpha damage with 232 standard AP pen, with 830 shell speed, and 304 premium APCR pen with 918 shell speeds. Note, however, that both gun options have supposed premium APCR, but the shell speeds aren't that big of an increase. These may actually be functional AP rounds, but they still have not made an in-game prem AP tag apparently, so just keep that in mind. Just like the Japanese tank destroyers having slightly higher shell speeds in their premium AP rounds, despite them being labeled as premium APCR. Anyway, the HE bumps up the damage to 650 alpha with 85mm of pen and 787 shell speed. This being a double barrel means your double shot alpha is 1000 damage, which is quite absurd. Each barrel has a reload of 16 seconds, and Wargaming gives it a DPM value of 1875, which is correct if you're shooting one barrel every 16 seconds, but the double barrels allow you really good burst DPM for the first 3 shells, which, doing the math crudely myself, your first minute's worth of DPM is actually closer to 2850. That's only if you have both barrels loaded and shoot whenever you can. That's what makes double barrels so strong, that burst damage from both barrels being loaded at the start of a fight. As for the rest of the statistics, it's got the same 3.1 seconds base aim time and 0.36 base accuracy, but actually has 10 degrees of gun depression over the 7 that the other gun option gets, making this option quite enticing. Moving on from the guns though, and this being a super heavy, it's gotta have good armor, right? With 2800 HP as well to soak up damage if you do get penned, it does have some thick armor. But also, easy to pen spots with traditional weak points, like its lower plate, which is really big and only 180mm thick, and 2 cupolas that are only 150mm thick. With the lower plate, yes it's big, but it gets real curvy at the bottom, so you want to aim high on the lower plate. And with the 2 cupolas, the one on the left, when looking at the tank, is bigger and easier to hit. If you don't hit these from the front though, it will be hard to go through its 300mm thick upper plate that's also angled back with most rounds. And it's got a good face, but tank destroyers can still go through its 270mm thick face when hitting it at the right angles and spots. Its sides are well armored too, and trolling, because if you don't know where to shoot it, it has very layered spots. Everywhere where the tracks are, it has the track layer of 40mm, as well as 2 surrounding plates of 50mm, and a whole side of 160mm for a total of 300mm of armor. But if you shoot within the tracks at either the direct side of those side sponsons or directly in front or behind the sponsons, you only have to go through that 160mm of side hull armor. Overall, it's got good armor, but not armor you'll be needing to load premium for, unlike most other super heavies. So personally, I haven't been having trouble taking out these tanks on the battlefield myself, but when playing it, and as you'll see in the gameplay section, people are struggling. Apart from the guns and armor, the rest of the stats are pretty meh. Of course, being a super heavy means you're going to be slow, with only a 30 top speed and you never reach it on a flat due to your sub 10 power to weight ratio. It's gonna be a slug to get into position, but that is to be expected with the super heavy classification. I wouldn't recommend doubling down on speed equipment either, with how speed equipment is percentage based in our game, but if you wanted the horsepower piece, go ahead. But maybe I would suggest trying fuel first rather than using up an equipment slot. Camo is expected with 440 meters of moving and 436 meters of still concealment values, and you do have the typical 400 meters base view range of most tier 10 heavies. Overall, this tank is all about the guns for me at the moment, and both are very good. One of the first times that having gun options is actually an option and not just a novel choice, with one being the obvious choice. And although you'll see me getting plenty of block damage in my games I'm about to share, there's also plenty of games you won't see of me getting shredded by knowledgeable players. Because to me this thing kind of feels like a Type 5 heavy. It's got a really strong gun and good armor against most players, but it takes one or two good players who know how to take you out just to farm you. There's no angling out of it either, only hiding. So that's how I've approached this tank, like I'm playing the Type 5. Luckily with the HP, you can start off aggressive to find out whether the enemy knows what they're doing, and then fall back into a more passive playstyle with enough HP to make smarter plays. Otherwise, if you're aggressive and the enemy shows that they don't know what they're doing, or they panic, it'll be a free and easy game for you. Before we get into the gameplay, what am I rocking? I was only using an 8 skill crew with 6 sense, rapid loading, steady aim, born leader, camo expertise, snapshot, clutch braking, and silent driving. This is by no means the crew you want on this tank, but I just ran with it for some reason. I would recommend switching out silent driving for supply conservation, adding situational awareness in the 9th slot, and also switching out camo expertise for either run and gun or controlled impact based on how you see fit. But regardless of my less than optimal commander setup, we still had great games. Our consumables were our usual premium repair kit, food rations, and standard med kit, and our equipment was actually different with both guns. I used a gun rammer and vents on both, but with the 700 alpha gun, I tried out optics, and then switched to vert stabs with the double barrels, which I would say was the better setup. But now, let's get into the two ace tankers I have for you guys. We're going to start with the lesser of the two games, and that is the one with the double barrel. Now, in my play session, I was asking for Berlin the entire time because I felt Berlin would be good for this tank. You could either go brawl over here, or if you want to go down the 3 line, you're at least, if you spawned over there that is, you're at least close enough to the enemy that if your flank is won immediately, you can at least get to the other flank or to the remaining enemies in a decent amount of time because of the fact that it's a city map. Whereas maps like Westfield or many other big maps, you're just caught out in the open. And my very first game in this tank was actually in Nomahan, and it was terrible. But I'm gonna be aggressive here. Like I said with the Type 5 comparison, you be aggressive to see what your enemy is capable of. And because there's a Terran and an E4, I don't know why the Terran's over here in the first place, brawling with a no armored tank, but I bounced both of them. I figured, I panicked a little bit and backed up. Then I went, you know what? Terran is a premium tank. Most people bought it. They heard it was good. They don't really know what they're doing with it. So I'm just going to push forward. And around the corner, I spot a tortoise and a Maushan. The Maushan panicked. Doesn't know what he's doing. Trying to back up. And I'm going to hide my right side cupola, my right, their left, with my double barrel, which is more effective than the other gun option because you have 2 barrels of the same length and thickness that they actually effectively hide your cupola quite well. So as long as I stay where I am, my left side cupola is harder to hit, so I could try and get around the corner, but I was afraid of the E4, which is dead, and now that I've noticed that, I'm going to push forward to go for the tortoise. I'm going to make sure I fully aim this shot because tortoise cupolas nowadays are quite trolly. But you can see the fact that just reloading while interclipping is very strong in this tank. We did it at the beginning, and just, it's, double barrels are stupid strong. And now that we have just a Terran left, in the corner. We're gonna just push him, and we're gonna just, yeah, trap him in. Bully the Tyrann. He does get the first pen into me the entire game, I believe. I don't think I was damaged before this, but he did finally pen me, but that was after I've already blocked 3,360 damage. Now, because of the plays I made and because of what I did, and unfortunately getting penned by that Dorn, I wish things had changed. But I had a bit of a, like a, I don't want to say ego, but I had a bit of a, oh, this is a free game, and I want to kill this Avery, so I double shot him in the face. Sorry to the AMX-30, but he just kept going forward and then turning his back to the right rather than the left and driving into me every time I would turn to the right. So I said, fuck it, I'm just gonna push. And I do get double barreled by another double barrel, which now I've taken roughly 900 damage with 2 shots twice now, which puts me at 1115 damage. We've already done 6,000 damage, and I gave that double barrel that shot because I thought, I don't need the HP, because the enemy, you know, they're losing, and I'm just going to go and roll up on people with the team and get free damage. And you'll see that I'm going to regret my decision to push the Tyrann like I did and take a shot from him, and to allow the double barrel to double barrel my axe. But we have the side of a tortoise, a different tortoise, perhaps. I was not paying attention. He HE's me for, like, what is that, 23 damage, and I unfortunately shoot the upper plate of the ST2, but we're at 6,800 damage, and now this is the amount of damage I've, like, that was previously my max with the double barrel was 6,300, so already 7,338 is my best game at the moment with the double barrel, obviously not with the single shot. Unfortunately, that one misses. That would have been great to have. That would have pushed me very close to a certain number. Now this grill's poking, full health, bounces me. I have a double barrel. I'm just gonna go at you. It's 5-3. I'm being very, you know, aggressive because I think I can, and unfortunately, it's gonna bite me in the ass at some point. But it didn't bite me in the ass there. He bounces me again. I have 5,000 block damage. I have 8,677 damage. And I want to go for that 10k, right? I wish I hit that Murat. I wish I hit that SD2. I'm going to hit this Rogal Dorn. But he hits me, and he's using the 700 alpha gun. And I've broken the 9k mark, and I continue to be aggressive because I think, well, with how slow this tank is, I have to keep moving. I try going for the cupola shot. He pulls forward as I do, and even if he didn't pull forward, my shot went to the left, and he does pen me and takes me out. Oh well. You can't complain about 9,000 damage, can you? Yes, we made some mistakes, and I do completely acknowledge that and wish I didn't make those mistakes. But also, if we didn't miss the ST2, if we didn't miss that Murat, if we were able to get the shot on the grill for full damage rather than the killing shot, we would have definitely done 10k, dying in the same position if I had just hit my shots, right? Oh well. 9,100 and something damage, 1885, 65, Cone can't read. Base XP, obviously goes for an ace with a top gun on a tier 10, and I say obviously, but the only reason it's obvious is because I was playing this after the tank went on a full 50% discount, which was within the 3rd week of its release. So by that time, you know, I believe we got the 50% discount on, I want to say, Saturday. And I bought this tank last minute, Wednesday night. So people had already gotten it. People had been playing it for 2.5 weeks. So 1,800 base XP does indeed go for an ace. After 3 weeks, I don't think it would have if I played this week 1. But regardless, good game, right? 9,000 damage, 6 kills. 22 shots fired, 4860 block damage. Again, block damage comes easy if the enemy doesn't know what they're doing. And you'll see that for sure in this next game. which is a bit upsetting, because regardless of how I've performed, I will say I kind of I downplay the performance myself because I don't think it was anything insanely impressive based off of the fact that I like you don't really need to do anything special with this tank for it to work. But we're going to move on now for our next game, which is on airfield, and it is with the 700 Alpha gun. Yeah, look, it's 3 mark. With the 90 millimeter, sorry, secondary. And because it's encounter, I'm gonna go towards the capsule. I want to make sure we have the capsule. Plus, I don't really like fighting in the south in a heavy tank like this. And remember, I have 7 degrees of gun depression now. The double barrel had 10. And unfortunately, we used the double barrel on a map that does not require gun depression. So we didn't get to really utilize that 10 degrees. But that 10 degrees is quite significant. But this one only has 7. So it's like the Lehman Russ. I believe the Lehman Russ only has 7 as well. Oh, I did forget to mention during the review, I suppose. I compared this thing to the Type 5, right? And again, that's because in the Type 5, if the enemy's not loading premium, they have to go for your small cupola. And they have to hit quite dead center. And even some standard rounds won't go through that cupola. And so, here's me just trying to take lucky shots at tanks, bouncing the 114 SP2 off of his gun with the baby gun. And the Type 5 is a strong tank, but it's only strong if you're fighting less than knowledgeable players, right? Or people who aren't shooting premium. Once the premium is loaded by the enemy, the Type 5's armor becomes, I don't want to say useless, because you can still bounce off of the side of the turret face, you can bounce off of unlucky angles, but it becomes way easier to pen. And then at that point, it's about trading effectively, right? And that's how I feel when fighting this tank. But I don't have to load premium against this tank. I just have to trade effectively against it. And although this thing has great guns, depending on what tank I'm playing against it, I used my tank's advantageous speed, armor, side scraping, camo, whatever it is I'm playing, in order to try and trade effectively with a Rogal Dorn, like I would with a Type 5. And again, I don't have to load premium. But the Lehman Russ, I feel, if you want a strongly armored tank that is hard to actually pen, but not impossible, right? If you want a hard to actually pen tank, go play the Trolley Avery. The Lehman Russ, I feel, has better armor than this. It's got a smaller cupola. Its lower plate is quite strong. Yeah, I just feel like the Lehman Russ has better armor. That's not to downplay this tank. You have 300 more HP, and you have really strong guns. And you have a double barrel version of the Lehman Russ's gun. And while I'm yapping here, you can see me actually using the baby gun for effective damage. And although it's just me and Scareface over here, Scareface in my platoon, you guys might know him too, he has a YouTube channel. We are being pushed by quite a lot of tanks, but we're just gonna, you know, take them out. This Hydra, very strong tank, even against tier 10s after being a buffed version of the I6. But I luckily had enough gun depression, and he wasn't too short that I could still hit his cupola there. And so far, we have full HP, and as I say that, we finally get damaged by a 114 SP2. But we've dealt 3783 damage, and we've blocked 3550. And it's 6-10 within 4 minutes of the match. So it looks like we're gonna lose, right? So I need to do as much damage as I can before the loss comes, right? Now, unfortunately, our secondary gun did not pen that there, but we are just gonna... We shot our 700 Alpha gun, and he pushes us. I don't know if players don't look at new tank statistics, but he pushes us thinking, you know, oh, I fired. And I even penned the cupola of the TS5 with 182 millimeters of standard AP pen for 240 alpha damage, right? So the secondary gun on this tank is actually very valid. Like, it's very good. It adds to your DPM, unlike the other ones that would only add to your DPM if you're fighting, you know, the sides of tanks, lightly armored vehicles, artillery, or you use them to take down building cover. This one I would actually refrain from using against building cover unless what you're fighting are super heavily armored. But this secondary does actually add to your damage. 182 millimeters of pen, seemingly enough to fight a lot of tanks at tier 10 and lower. And 240 alpha damage is a significant amount for a secondary weapon to add to your 700 alpha damage gun. And yes, this is a 150 millimeter gun. I did ask and got a answer of the calibers of guns, despite them not being stated in game, I don't believe. I can't pen the lower plate with the baby gun, but I tried. And the TS5 second one, I believe, is gonna give me the free kill by ramming me. And now there's two Rogal Dorns, and it's 4-4. We've brought this back. Me and Scareface have held down this position quite well. And one of them did pen me, and this kind of scared me. I'm like, ooh, they have great guns. There's two of them, one of me. What do I do? He has the same option as me. The other one on the right has the double barrel. And I'm penning his cupola with, again, my baby gun, adding to that DPM. I don't know what he's shooting at me, on me, but he's not doing any damage. The double barrel guy, he did just fire. And I'm just going to slowly take them out, I suppose, because apparently they don't know what they're doing. And at this point, I did think they were platooned. The fact that one was using one gun, the other was using the other, and they were playing together. But you can see in the top right, they're not platooned. My platoon is what's left now, versus two Rogal Dorns and a artillery piece. Unfortunately, Artie does take out Scareface. Damn you, Artie. But 9,813 damage now, and I've blocked 7,200 damage. And I have 1,500 HP left as well. Like, I haven't taken it as much either. I still have over half my HP. And during that whole fight, you could see, like, yeah, there was a lot of tier 8s. Some people push you thinking you're done firing because you fired your big gun, but you have a secondary weapon, and it's just very good. Now, what I was gonna say about the fact that it's a 150 millimeter gun with 700 alpha damage puts it in the realm of the 149 millimeter gun of the Japanese tank destroyer. Which, again, still working on the review on that. I have the script actually done. I just need to do the VO and get the footage and edit it. Gonna be a long one, but anyway, but it's a 150 millimeter, and so some people might think like, oh, 150 millimeter that doesn't do 750 on a tier 10 heavy tank, like, even though we have a 705A doing 650, that secondary gun makes up for the 50 less alpha damage if you're thinking about the fact that you do less damage with a 150 than E100 and other stuff. Again, 705, right there, 650, hello. But Artie has finally put us below half HP, but it doesn't matter, because we've already done 10,450 damage with another top gun. And I know we played smart. Me and Scareface definitely played smart while being pushed by a bunch of tanks. But I just feel like it was handed to me. You know what I mean? Like, this is a great tank. It's fun, too. You have the nice try with the AP, set him on fire, kill him with the baby gun. Goodbye, Artie. Thanks for another 1,000 damage. Making it 11,480 damage game. 2,100 base XP with 7 kills for a Devastator. Obviously, that one's an ace, right? And the platoon top 3, baby. Let's go. Give it up for the cones, but I can't stress it enough that with this tank, it feels very strong. But again, I've had also plenty of games where I've like died instantly with 0 or 1 block damage, 1 shot's worth of block damage because of smart players who know what they're doing and aren't panicking. But when people panic, or when you're going against people who don't know how to pen you, like that enemy Rogal Dorn, I don't know what he was shooting at. He had my cupola. The games just feel free. And I want to be excited about my 11,000 damage game here, but I've already done 11,000 damage. This isn't my highest either. And I was more excited about that one because it was in the 114 SP2, which before it got buffed was a good tank. With the buff, it's probably like a really good tank, but not like a super good tank, if those metrics mean anything. But I'm more excited doing well in tanks that feel like I earned it. With both these games, you could probably see that it was a lot of just driving at people, getting free block damage, and doing good damage with your really good guns. And I don't think it's inherently a problem that this tank has really good guns or has the armor that it has, because again, I think the armor is not even like insane. And and like I keep saying, we also have those games that I'm not showing you here where I just immediately die from a bunch of tank destroyers in the back. I make one wrong push or whatnot. But if you see like insane games like this, take them with a grain of salt. Like, I don't want to say, definitely don't trash the player who has these games, but don't think like, damn, I gotta have that tank, or damn, I wish I could do that. You can. I think this is one of those tanks where anybody can do this well. I don't think it takes a super uni. I don't think it takes it's less easy than the Avery. The Avery has insane frontal armor with the trolley thing, and the face doesn't want to cooperate half the time, and you don't even have to aim at people. You literally just get free HE damage. But this tank, I feel like genuinely anybody can do well if the enemy team that you're fighting against doesn't look at tanks that come out, right? They haven't looked at the armor model, they haven't looked at the guns, they haven't really done any practice with the tank yet. But now that it's no longer available and time's gonna pass, the more this tank is played, the less effective I think the armor will get as more people learn. But that doesn't take away the great guns that it has, right? And so if you want a super heavy that's gonna block damage, play the mouse. If you want a super heavy that's gonna, you know, do what this thing can do against what some people might call noobs because of the amount of tier 10 premiums available that people can just straight up buy, well, you missed out. But if you did happen to get it for 50% off, which I hope you did, wait for the sale, it's a great vehicle. It's definitely a great vehicle. But that's enough rambling from me. Again, just a quick recap. To me, plays like a Type 5, great gun, good armor against low skill players, but as a tank that you don't even have to load premium for, I feel it might start getting hit more so than the Type 5 does. Anyway, that is the Rogal Dorn. If the Warhammer tanks ever come back, this tank obviously will be available. It won't be for an insane discount like it was this time around, most likely. And perhaps next time these come back, another vehicle will be made available. But regardless, there it is. Thank you for watching. I hope you stay tuned for future reviews. I still have the Japanese Tank Destroyer review to finish, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.